Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Coach Sark, the Texas Longhorns, really starting to turn it up on the recruiting trail in this 2025 cycle as they land the commitment from four-star running back James Simon from the state of Louisiana, and a guy that we've talked a lot about over the last couple of weeks as really being one of the more intriguing running backs in this 2025 cycle, a running back that is not necessarily going to wow you with the track times and the straight line speed, but when you dive into the film, you really get an appreciation for why Tashard Choice identified James Simon as a perfect fit in this Texas Longhorns offense, a guy with elite short area quickness at 5'11", 200 pounds. He makes linebackers and safeties at the second level, really looks silly at times. He runs behind his pads extremely good, dealing with contact. And again, because the lack of verified track times, and we know a lot of recruiting services like to put a lot of stock in those track times, I think flying under the radar, according to a lot of different services, I think this is a very intriguing running back. I'm trusting Tashard Choice with this evaluation. Fired up to get into it. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys. And many of y'all know this is one of my favorite time periods as a college football fan, covering the high school recruiting trail. And the amount of support the Texas Longhorn fans have shown over really the last couple of years as Coach Sark has really turned it up. I can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. It's going to be an extremely fun next couple of weeks and months for this Texas program on the recruiting trail. And without further ado, let's get into James Simon. And let's start with, I think Tashard Choice doing a really nice job filling out this running back class in 2025. Where you look at the state of Texas in that running back position, it was, certainly a down year. There were not many top running backs in state that Tashard Choice decided to go with. And he goes and lands Ricky Stewart, a guy that's run for over 4,000 yards his last 2 years at the high school level. And then you look at James Simon from Louisiana, I think a really nice addition that, was trending to LSU for the duration or for a very long time of this recruiting process. And I think Tashard Choice and Coach Sark really decide to turn the heat up, and they end up landing this commitment. And you get into James Simon. I want to turn on the film. One, extremely productive at the high school level, right? 1,600 yards, 21 touchdowns, 8.5 yards per carry, ran for 750 yards during his high school team state playoff run. You love to see running backs, playing their best games when it matters most. And you get into the film and say, you start to get an appreciation for why Tashard Choice decided to go with James Simon. One, a really good feel for the position in terms of diagnosing what's happening in front of him. He's a no-nonsense running back that really wants to get downhill. You see finishing off that carry with some physicality, and you continue to work through the film and say the short area quickness for someone who's 5'11", 200 pounds is absolutely incredible. For him to get in and out of his cuts as smooth as he does, I think that certainly stands out on the film, deals with contact exceptionally well. You can tell at 5'11", 200 pounds, very developed in that lower half, very good at staying on his feet. And again, I think he's so smooth at making people miss at that second level. And you look at what traits you want in running backs. Yes, it's really important to have that long speed to be able to hit that home run play. James Simon has a track background. I'm not necessarily saying this kid is slow, but what really stands out to me is one of the more important traits you want to see, and that is diagnosing what's in front of you. And when you're in open space, can you make people routinely miss? And he makes second-level defenders often look silly. And I think that's what really stands out. Really nice feel in the running game here, bouncing it outside. Again, long speed to finish some of these carries. Again, not a slow running back in the slightest, but a guy that really, I think, thrives making people miss in those phone booths. I think this is a very intriguing running back, and you start looking at this young running back room for Texas. Obviously, CJ Baxter only going into his sophomore year. You take in Jarrett Gibson coming from IMG Academy. Now James Simon, Ricky Stewart. It's no secret Tashard Choice is one of the best, not only at recruiting the running back position, but developing the running back position. And I trust Tashard Choice to get these guys in and really kind of develop some elite running backs. It's a deep running back room with a really diverse skill set. And you take a look at Texas in this 2025 cycle and say, sitting at 15th overall, I think that's right where Texas is comfortable at heading into these summer official visits, because you start taking a look at where Texas is really pouring their resources into. One, on the offensive line. We mentioned the running back position maybe not being that great in the state of Texas. It's the exact opposite for the offensive line. You start taking a look at guys like Michael Fasusi, guys like Ty Haywood in the state of Texas. You can tell Texas and Coach Sark are putting a lot of their recruiting resources at landing some of these blue chip recruits in the state of Texas on the offensive line. And take a look at why Texas has taken strides under Coach Sark, why they're a bona fide national championship contender, not only last year, but going into 2024. It is because of line of scrimmage play. They have some of the better line of scrimmage play that you see across the country. And I think it has a lot to do with what they're doing on the recruiting trail. And the second position that you have to be fired up about is the wide receiver spot. Obviously making some really nice moves for top 5 national prospect Decorian Moore. You'll look at Khalil Lockett, in-state wide receiver, 5-star Texas, seems to be the leader in the clubhouse there. You'll look at Jamie French, another guy that Texas is leading for as well. I mean, I think they've identified the guys in positions they want to pour some resources in. That's the offensive line, and that's the wide receiver spot. You look at the correlation of why Texas has been so successful. It's having elite wide receivers, really good line of scrimmage play. I think Texas, although, excuse me, sitting at only top 15 in the country right now, it's really hard to see Texas not finishing up with a top 5 class in the country. And if they continue to land top 5 classes in the country, fill in their gaps in the transfer portal, obviously using the portal extremely well. This is a Texas roster that you know is going to be at the top end of the SEC and top end of the country for the next couple of years. Fired up for the next couple of weeks. We'll continue to update you guys with this Texas program. If y'all do enjoy the content, again, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.